Jean-Claude Van Damme, once hailed as the Muscles from Brussels, was one of the most recognizable action stars of the late 1980s and 1990s. With films like Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Universal Soldier, and Time Cop, he became a global sensation, admired for his martial arts skills, his incredible athleticism, and his larger-than-life screen presence. He was not just an actor, he was a phenomenon, a man who brought real fighting ability into Hollywood at a time when action movies were exploding worldwide. Yet despite his rise to superstardom, Van Damme's career came crashing down in a way few could have predicted. What happened to him was not just a setback. It was the kind of devastating blow that ended his career almost immediately and left him struggling to rebuild what he had lost. The turning point came in the mid-1990s, when Van Damme was at the peak of his fame. At that time, he was commanding salaries of $8 to $10 million per film and was considered one of the biggest box office draws in Hollywood. But behind the scenes, his life was unraveling. His growing dependence on drugs, particularly cocaine, began to affect not only his health but also his work. He later admitted that at one point he was spending thousands of dollars a week on his addiction, sometimes staying awake for days on end. Producers began to notice his erratic behavior on set, his inability to focus, and his clashes with directors. What once made him appear confident and unstoppable now came across as reckless and unstable. The most immediate blow came when major studios lost faith in him. After a series of box office disappointments combined with his off-screen problems, Van Damme went from being one of Hollywood's most bankable stars to someone studios didn't want to take a chance on. The action genre itself was changing, with new stars like Will Smith, Keanu Reeves, and even Jackie Chan taking over the spotlight. Van Damme, once at the center of it all, suddenly found himself pushed aside. Hollywood has little patience for mistakes, and when the scandals, addictions, and erratic reputation piled up, his career ended almost overnight. One of the defining "this happened" moments came during negotiations when Van Damme turned down a major role in Street Fighter II sequels and other big projects, demanding an even higher salary than what the studios were willing to pay. This move backfired. Instead of securing him bigger paychecks, it made him appear arrogant and out of touch. Coupled with his struggles with addiction, this career misstep essentially shut the doors of Hollywood on him. For a man who had built his entire identity around being an unstoppable fighter both on and off screen, this downfall was nothing short of tragic. By the early 2000s, Van Damme's career as a leading man had effectively ended. He was no longer headlining blockbuster films, no longer commanding multi-million-dollar salaries, and no longer viewed as the action star he once was. Instead, he found himself working in smaller, direct-to-video projects, trying to rebuild his reputation piece by piece. While some fans remained loyal, the larger industry had moved on, leaving him behind. And yet, in his downfall lies a tragic but inspiring story. Jean-Claude Van Damme admitted his mistakes, sought help, and began to reinvent himself. Movies like JCVD in 2008, where he played a fictionalized version of himself, reminded the world of his raw talent and humanity. Though his career as a mainstream Hollywood superstar never truly returned, he has carved out a second chapter as a cult icon, respected for his honesty and willingness to confront his demons. Still, the truth remains. Jean-Claude Van Damme's career ended almost immediately after his addiction. Arrogance and Hollywood's unforgiving nature collided at the worst possible moment. It was a tragedy for a man who had the world at his feet, a lesson in how quickly fame can vanish, and a reminder that even the strongest fighters can be knocked down by life itself.